So welcome back to our channel. I'm really excited to make this video today. We're going to be talking about two deer that jumped 50 inches in just 1 year from when they were 3.5 years old to 4.5 years old. So we wanted to let you guys know, to our first 1,500 subscribers, we're going to be doing a giveaway. All you have to do to get entered to win is email this email address right here and send us a picture that shows that you're subscribed. And then whenever we're ready to hold the contest, we'll have a deer head on display, and you guys will get to estimate the score of the deer, and whoever is the closest will get a choice between a nested backpack, which comes with a set of climbing sticks and a tree stand, or a top-of-the-line Reconyx trail camera. Also, one more thing before we get into the video, we wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be changing our name to Farm Country Whitetails. It's the same channel, we're just changing our name, just so you're not confused when you see the new name. So let's get back into it. So this is the first deer that we're going to be talking about. My dad shot this one back in 2012. We named him Hooks. When he was 3.5, on both of his twos, he had hooks that kind of look like fish hooks, so that's kind of where his name came from. He scores 205 gross at just 4.5 years old. It sure would have been nice to see what this buck would have turned into at 5 or 6, but where this deer was living, it was hard to get him to 4, so it would have been almost impossible to get him to 5.5 years old. Dad had shot this buck on October 9th. He was a real timid deer, and he was always by himself, so that kind of made him easier to pattern. So some of the tine length on this deer is really deceiving. This tine here is just about 12.5 inches long. And his 3 up here is right at about 12.5 inches long as well. And his G2 on this side is 14.5 inches long. So he's a mainframe 9-pointer, and that 9-point frame scores around 180, give or take a little. And he's got right at 25 inches of non-typical points. This deer was a mainframe 8-pointer when he was 3.5, and had probably 5 to 6 extra inches on the 3 hooks that were on his 2s. I'm not sure how well you can see these hooks on his 2s, but here he is at 3.5 years old. He's just a stud of a 3.5-year-old, and it's remarkable how much he grew in just 1 year. In 2012, when Dad harvested this deer, our area was hit hard with EHD. So you could imagine how concerned he was when he was getting pictures of this deer in velvet, whether or not he was gonna make it. We lost a lot of deer that year, but luckily Hooks made it. Another thing about this deer, when we had him on trail camera, we really thought he would have been scoring around 180, and we were really shocked when we scored him out after he harvested him. The evening that Dad shot this deer, he scored him 5 times because he was sure he was making some type of mistake. So this deer we call Splitty because of all the splits he's got. He has 18 scoreable points, and on this point here, he's got it broke off. He's got another chip point here. So Dad shot this buck on November 7th back in 2017. And it was on the same property as Hooks. It was actually only his second hunt in trying to hunt this deer. He had him pretty well patterned, and the first time he went in, he had him at 30 yards in the brush but could never get the shot off. He went back 6 days later when the wind was right, and he shot him at 11 yards. So in just a 5-year span, we had 2 deer that grew 50 inches from 3.5 to 4.5. This deer was a mainframe 8-pointer that had some decent forks on his 2s at 3.5 years old. And I don't know how well you can see these pictures, but this is Splitty at 3.5 years old. We estimated him to be around 140. Here's another picture of him here, just a stud of a 3-year-old. Here's 2 pictures of Splitty, one at 3.5 and another one at 4.5 on the same scrape. This deer Splitty went 190 and 1/8 when Dad harvested him back in 2017. So putting on 50 inches, we estimated his gross score at 3.5, right around 140, as an 8-pointer with forked 2s. Now, these two deer obviously have exceptional genetics. So we're not trying to say that every deer is going to blow up 50 inches from 3.5 to 4.5, but we think it's a lot more common than most people think. Because unfortunately, a lot of those awesome looking 3-year-olds never make it to 4 years old. Unfortunately, we never got to pick up the sheds off of either of these bucks when they were 3.5 years old. So you're probably wondering why this deer Hooks has his head cut off right there. And when Dad was caping the deer out, he had walked inside for a little while and the rack was still laying on the table, and our lab actually got a hold of it and chewed it up a little bit. But thankfully he didn't chew the antlers up. I don't know about you, but it would have been real cool to see these two deer in this position at about 25 yards. I don't know how I would have decided which one to shoot first. So when you guys are out there contemplating whether or not you're going to shoot that nice looking 3-year-old, just try to remember what that deer could turn into in the next year or two. So hopefully you guys found this video interesting. And as always, thank you guys for watching. And remember, hard work is more reliable than luck.